labor. Also coming up, Minister of Education Dr. Yao Osei-Duchum directs students to report to school despite not having the full complement of their required prospectus. Still ahead, New Kejetia Market reopens to business with traders calling for the dismissal of the managing director and board chair of the facility over the recent fire incident. And later, residents of Sherigu Kumbilingu in the Upper East region threatened to boycott the 2024 general elections if the communities are not connected to the national grid.
Your phone is off just because there's absence of electricity.
Our children for learning is hard for them.
Stay tuned as we bring you details of all that and more on the Citi Prime News, which is live on all our affiliate stations across the country. In the Western region, you are listening to us on Premier 100.5 FM and Beach 105.5 FM, all in Takoradi. And in the Bono region, we're on Greener 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In the Ashanti region, we are on Orange 107.9 FM in Kumasi. In the Eastern region, we are on Right 90.1 FM in Somanya. In the Volta region, we are on Holy 98.5 FM in Aflao. In the Northern region, we are on Dasuma 99.1 FM in Yendi. In the Upper East region, we are on Word FM 88.3 FM in Zuarungu. And in the Upper West region, we're on Boogly Radio 88.6 FM in Wa.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Grateful for your time this afternoon. We'll settle for the details of our stories now. There's looming food security threat in the Ikuapem South municipality of the Eastern region following the influx of estate developers who are taking over agricultural lands. A number of arable lands in Ebri and its environs have been sold out to both private individuals and real estate developers who are putting up estates and residential properties. The Assembly says the situation has significantly affected agricultural yields recorded in the year 2022. In an interview with Citi News on the sidelines of the annual Joint Stakeholders Review Workshop on the implementation of the 2022 Annual Action Plan and Composite Budget, some Assembly members expressed frustration over the situation and said it was gradually deepening youth unemployment in the entire municipality. Michael Osai is the Assemblyman for Jankama Kokonu electoral area in the Ikuapem South municipality of the Eastern region.
The Assembly should look at the proper way of handling this issue. Look at how they will develop the municipality in terms of putting in infrastructures and that will get some of our youth engaged, very fruitful or kind of productive kind of engagement, so that they will be earning something because they can't still go back to the land. The lands are owned by people who have, some of them have bought land, waiting for the price to go out for them to sell it. So it's an issue, it's a very worrisome issue, but I think the Assembly should at least take the front line in terms of how they have to prepare themselves, meet the challenges that are going to be confronted with in terms of unemployment and other social issues that may come attend to some of these issues, like where they cannot go back to the land to use the land, where they have challenges in how to live. So education, work, employment, and other things we look at now, so that the youth can at least get something to do. Provision of technical, vocational training, and other things are equally important, and though the youth can have a fruitful engagement and they can be able to make something for themselves.
Michael Osai is the Assemblyman for Jankama Kokonuru electoral area in the Ikuapem South municipality of the Eastern region. Now, the Municipal Planning Officer, James Abugri, described the situation as alarming and added that the municipality might face a food security crisis within the next 5 years if the situation is not checked.
The issue of farmlands being converted into housing units in the Ikuapem South in recent times is so troubling, to the extent that landowners would have to sell off their lands to real estate developers and individual developers to develop housing units. Meanwhile, these farmlands are what we used to rely on to produce food for us. Ekwapen South, for instance, is noted, for the production of pineapple. We are one of the leading producers of pineapple in this country. And if you look at the numbers, the data we have, 5 years now, we have seen that there's consistent reduction in the production levels of pineapple and other cereals that we depend on. And what is happening is that people are giving out these farmlands. And if you give out these farmlands to the developers, as an agrarian municipality, what are we going to depend on to feed? Most of our people depend on these farming activities as their source of livelihood. And this is being taken away by real estate developers. Because of the influx of people from Accra, Ekwapen South is becoming part of Accra. And also because of the fact that the climate here is so serene and conducive, people are appetized to come in here, acquire lands, and then put up their houses. So the lands too are very expensive, and landowners see that to be a lucrative venture than the farming, because they'll get the money one time.
James Abuguri is the Ikwiapim South Municipal Planning Officer.
Now, a former board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Stephen Adai, is blaming the government for engaging in excessive borrowing that has landed the country into the current economic crisis. According to Professor Adai, although the emergence of COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukraine war may have affected Ghana's economy, the fundamental mistake the government made was borrowing beyond its capacity to pay back. He is thus calling on the government to accept responsibility for the current state of the economy. He also wants Ghanaians to strictly hold government officials accountable to prevent a similar situation in the future.
The reality is that I think the biggest mistake they made is that they borrowed beyond our capacity to service it. And whether you are a country or an individual, if you borrow beyond your capacity, you will be in trouble. Of course, COVID came in and Ukraine, but the reason why things got worse was because of this underlying mistake that they made, and they must admit it. Of course, if not, they wouldn't be going to the IMF. And I think that as to the way forward, once you are an individual, you get broke and your debtors come after you, it's either insolvency or liquidation. When it comes to the government, it's renegotiating with your debtors. And the debtors happen to be Ghanaians owing about almost half of it in terms of treasury bills and bonds, and the foreigners. And he's saying that I can't pay. Let us discuss it. And that is what is happening. And I think that the debt restructuring will go through, but it means that the next couple of years, things are not going to be easy for everyone. And we are hoping that whether we will learn and not repeat it again. And that will be me and you being watchdogs, and making sure that they don't go on another borrowing spree. And also, the leakage should be reduced, because government after government, the level of corruption and wastage has been too high. So we don't get value for money. And it has been true for as much as I know.
That was a former board chair of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Professor Stephen Adai.
Now, a Deputy Minister for Finance, Abnao Sayasari, has expressed optimism of a fruitful discussion between the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and China on negotiations for debt restructuring. Ken Ofori-Atta, who left Accra for China yesterday with a government delegation, is expected to continue bilateral talks with China, as well as seek financial assurances for Ghana's program with the International Monetary Fund. Speaking at the signing ceremony between the National Health Insurance Authority and United States Agency for International Development, USAID, in Accra, Abnao Sayasari once again called on Ghana's bilateral partners, such as the United States Agency for International Development, to support government-established the Ghana Financial Stability Fund as part of efforts to build back the economy.
It is important to indicate that government has initiated some steps to set up our $1.5 billion Ghana Financial Stability Fund to provide liquidity and solvency support to adversely affected financial institutions that participated fully in the domestic exchange program. And so with this, we are encouraging our bilateral partners, including the World Bank, the AFDB, the EU, and all of you, as well as the USA, to support the government to establish this fund. And we look forward to receiving some positive feedback from you. The World Bank has already committed about 300 million, and we expect our bilateral partners, including the USA, to also support us in this, to help bring back the robustness that our economy had, and also to support our financial institutions. On the external debt, we have formally requested from our bilateral creditors a debt treatment under the G20 common framework for debt treatments beyond the common framework that we have. And we've had subsequent engagements with them. As I speak with you now, the minister is on his way to China, and we believe that there's going to be some fruitful discussions which will result in positive outcomes for the external debt as well.
You heard the Deputy Minister for Finance, Abna Osei Asari.
We'll stay with matters of Ghana's debt obligations. The Pensioner Bondholders Forum is calling on the government to diligently honor coupon and maturity payments on their bonds when they are due. According to the group, the government exempted their bonds from the domestic debt exchange program, and by that exemption, the government agreed to honor its debt obligation to the pensioners without delay. After agitation from the investor community, the government began the payment of coupons that matured on 6th and 13th February from March 15. However, in an interview with Citi News, the convener for the Pensioner Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Ananientri, says the government must treat pensioner bondholders differently from other individual bondholders who refuse to tender their bonds under the domestic debt exchange program.
Our question to government is what is happening to the arrears? Because as far as pensioners are concerned, pensioner bondholders are concerned, government should not be telling us anything at all because the government has exempted us. Once government has given you that exemption, effectively government is saying, I don't have any problems at all with paying you, despite the fact that I have told everybody that I have some economic challenges. For your bonds that you are holding, there are absolutely no financial challenges whatsoever in meeting your coupons and your principal. So go and sleep. Anytime your bond is due or your coupon is due, just go to your bank and it will be there. That is the meaning of the exemption that government granted us. We are unable to accept government doing otherwise than what the market dictates for us. That once you are an exempted bond, you should not worry yourself at all. It will come as and when it is due. We are an exempted bond holders, and government by that has told us that our bonds are not part of the troubled bonds. The bonds that government thinks one day he may find problems meeting the obligations. Our bonds are not part of those troubled bonds. So we don't understand why government is treating us as if our bonds are part of the troubled bonds. Government should treat us exactly as people whose bonds are not part of the troubled bonds and pay our coupons and maturity as and when they get due, just as it was doing before this DDEP matter came about.
Dr. Edu Ananientri is the convener for the Pensioner Bondholders Forum.
Now, the operator of the boat that capsized on the Lake Volta last Saturday is expected in court today. The operator, Gabriel Ajigodi, was apprehended after the incident led to the death of 5 persons with several others missing. The boat was carrying mourners from Azizenya to Azizakope, where the boat capsized on the Volta Lake. The 5 dead persons were 3 children below the age of 3 and 2 women. Speaking to Citi News, the presiding member for the Ada East Assembly, Godwin Agode, explained that Ajigodi's arrest was to prevent people from taking mob action against him.
Reliably informed that he's in court earlier this morning. I don't know the proceedings yet, but I've been informed that his process in court. The docket was ready, but the court was not sitting yesterday, so they had to bring him to court this morning. But I've been told that they are detaining him just for his own safety, because there was a fear that he will be attacked in the community. So the police had to arrange that he will return to court today.
You heard the assembly, the presiding member of the Ada East Assembly, Godwin Agude. In a related development, the public relations officer for the Ada District National Disaster Management Organization, Ebenezer Dado, says the search team will, by close of today, determine whether or not to continue with the search for possible drowned persons on the Volta Lake.
Yes, that is the point. That is our assumption because we have not gotten the actual number on board. Because aside the people from Isanya, there were visitors who were also on board. So with the visitors, we don't know the number, but according to people within the town, they are up to number. But the visitors that joined the boat is our problem. And as we are saying, people were rescued. So some of the visitors might be rescued as well, or some, with our assumption, might be there. So after the close of the day, we will know what to do because one thing believed is that when somebody is drawn, within the first 2 days, sometimes might be down there, but from the third day going, the person might float out. The river or the sea might float the person. That is why we're giving ourselves out today, that if anything, they may float up.
Ebenezer Dado is the public relations officer for the Ada District National Disaster Management Organization.
Let's now head to the Volta region. The Electricity Company of Ghana has reconnected power to the Ho Technical University and the Ho Airport after the two institutions settled their indebtedness to the power distributor. The two institutions, among others, were disconnected as part of a national revenue mobilization exercise being carried out by the ECG. The public relations officer of ECJ in the Volta region, Benjamin Entry, in a media engagement, expressed appreciation to the organizations for promptly settling their debts.
So yesterday, during the exercise, some institutions were disconnected. Others made payments and then they were reconnected. Others have also made payment this morning and reconnected. For example, in the case of Ho Technical University, they were owing us about 402,000 Ghana cedis. But they made payments yesterday, 200,000 Ghana cedis, and they have been reconnected as we speak. In fact, we reconnected them yesterday. Then in the case of Ghana Airport Company Limited, i.e. Ho Airport, this morning they made a payment of 100,000 Ghana cedis, which is even more than the 68,000 Ghana cedis or almost 70,000 Ghana cedis that they owe the company. So they have been reconnected as well. And then after crunch talks with the GRA and then the SEPS Training Academy in Petoi, they've made payments and then both facilities have been reconnected back to the national grid. We would like to express our profound gratitude to these companies for supporting the exercise by paying their debts. We don't take delight in disconnecting customers, but at times we take this, like we always say, disconnection is the last resort. We just do this to prevent customers from accruing more debt, and then also it enables us also generate more revenue to keep the power sector running, because we as distributors, if we don't collect enough revenue, we cannot pay the generation companies as well as the transmitter, and this might have challenges within the power sector. So all this exercise that we are carrying out, it's to the benefit of our cherished customers and also the country, because we need to keep the power sector running to fuel our economy as well.
That was the public relations officer of ECJ in the Volta region, Benjamin Entry.
We'll take you to court because the 5 persons convicted in connection with the activities of the Western Togoland Foundation Group have been handed the maximum sentence of 5 years in prison with hard labor. They were convicted last week after more than a year of trial for attending meetings of prohibited organization, contributing to activities of a prohibited organization, and being a member of a prohibited organization. Now, the convicts were arrested in 2020 after members of the Western Togoland Foundation attacked a police station at Aveime, freed inmates and stole ammunition, blocked roads leading to the Volta region, and shot a police officer. We'll go over the phone lines to speak to Citi News' Hansen Ajman, who was in court, to tell us more. Good afternoon, Hansen. Many thanks for joining us. Now, what sentencing options were available to the judge?
Well, according to the Act, that's the Prohibition of other organizations Act, for which these accused persons were arrested. Any person who is found liable for counts within this particular act is liable to a conviction or a sentence of not more of a fine of not more than 1,000 penalty units. So the first option was to the judge was as to whether or not these 5 persons should be fined, and if they are to be fined, they cannot be fined more than 1,000 penalty units. Now, the other option is for a jail sentence of no more than 5 years. So, the second option was that if it was going to be a custodial sentence, then these 5 persons, having been found guilty, can be sentenced for the period of between 2 hours to 5 years in prison. And then the third option for the judge was the sentence can be either a fine and a custodial sentence. So the judge, in her own discretion, could have sentenced them to a fine and also to a custodial sentence, with all having in line the limitation on the sentence, which is for a fine, it shouldn't be more than 1,000 penalty units. And then for a sentence, it shouldn't be more than 5 years.
Right. So what led to the judge giving this maximum sentence?
Well, the counsel for the convict made the argument that if you consider the fact that the convict had been in lawful custody since they were denied bail throughout the trial process, and he calculates it to be about 2.5 years. And he says, even if you look at it in terms of the judicial calendar, then they have spent about 4 years in lawful custody. Considering the fact that the maximum sentence was 5 years, and they had spent some of the years already during trial process, during the trial time, it was his argument that the court should have considered that, and as a result, in his opinion, in relation to other mitigating factors, they shouldn't be sentenced for more than a year in prison. He also argued that if you look at the fact that these persons were of a youthful age and less than 35 years of age, and our criminal justice system provides that an opportunity should be given to first-time offenders to reform, the sentencing that should be given to them should be one that is yet towards getting some reformation from these accused persons. He also made the point that these convicts had shown remorse because even though they were not granted bail, they comported themselves throughout the period of the trial. But prosecution disagreed with this mitigating prayer from the counsel of the convict. And the prosecution point is that the 5 persons at no point in time in the trial did they save the court time by pleading guilty to the charges, and they raised their defense. And if their defense was not accepted by the court, that in no way can be termed as showing remorse. The other point the prosecution argued was that if you look at the nature of the offenses, now these are persons who were engaging in activities aimed at taking a part of Ghana or interceding the part of Ghana known as, which they describe as Western Togoland from Ghana, which in the words of prosecution attacked the sovereignty and territorial sovereignty of Ghana. And the fact that there are a lot more people who have been arrested in relation to similar offenses, and a lot more people who are yet to be arrested also in relation to similar offenses, there was a need for the court to issue out a harsher punishment or a harsh punishment to serve as a deterrent to these people. And the judge, in considering these arguments, and you noted that despite the fact that these convicts had been in lawful custody throughout the period of the trial, if you compare it to what they did, i.e., blocking roads, attacking a police station, stealing ammunition, and also shooting a police officer in the process, it is only in the interest of justice that a harsh punishment be meted out to them. Reason a custodial sentence of 5 years, which is the maximum of sentence these persons can be given as far as the act establishing the offense is concerned.
Right. Finally, before we go, can you briefly remind us on the nature of the offenses that they have been convicted of?
Now, the offenses as they have been convicted of, as we rightfully indicated early on, these are offenses that have to do with being a member of a prohibited organization. Now, the specific act that establishes, that creates these offenses talk about organizations that seek to succeed who are formed with the aim of succeeding parts of previously the mandated British Togoland territory from Ghana. So any group at all that is formed with the aim of succeeding parts that previously used to be the mandated territory of the British Togoland from Ghana. Those people, anybody who is a member of such a group, anybody who supports a group such as that, anybody who engages in activities of such groups, and even anybody who in a way gives out invitation to people to be even part of that particular group, and even anybody who loans money to support the activities of such a group would have gone against the said act and would be liable to the offenses that we've earlier established here.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was Citi News' Hansen Ajma reporting from the courts where 5 persons convicted in connection with the activities of the Western Togoland Foundation have been handed a maximum sentence of 5 years each in prison with hard labor. Charles has more stories.
Yes, we stay with the courts. The lawyer for the 11 branch executives of the National Democratic Congress who have been sued by the Member of Parliament for Asawase has described the action by the MP as baseless and without merit. According to Emmanuel Amwa, the defendants have denied allegations of defaming the Asawase MP in a press statement they recently issued. The Asawase MP Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak has sued 11 branch executives of the NDC in the constituency for defamation. The MP is demanding 10 million Ghana cedis in damages against the defendants who are said to have published and circulated comments deemed libelous against him. He is also seeking the Kumasi High Court to direct the defendants and other media houses that published the said defamatory remarks to retract and render an unqualified apology in a national newspaper. But speaking to Citi News, the lawyer for the 11 branch executives said although processes were underway to meet the plaintiff in court, he viewed the MP's action as baseless.
The rate has been true. It's only about a few of the defendants that have said stand. It is up to them to make sure they serve us. But last week, I've had the instruction of all the 11 defendants to represent them. So we are waiting for the processes to roll. But if you want my thoughts on what the Honorable MP has done, we feel that, well, if I were him or he had been properly advised, he wouldn't take those action or the action taken. No, but I'm a lawyer. So if you file a defamation action against my client, when I realize you don't have first-hand, why can't I comment on it? Because from all indications, the evidence that we have had, and from the instructions that I got from my client, he took the action based on what he presumed or what he has been told. Because at the time, the whatever press conference was supposed to have taken place, the Honorable MP was not in Aswati. You can find from the plaintiff, it is his work to make sure that the people that he has defend me also the court anymore. But I'm not sure of that. I know things have been said, but I have met all the 11. We met in my office sometime last week, and we are privy to what is going on. So it's up to the court bailiff to make sure they get the people, tell them the processes, so that the system can roll. Then let me also tell you, there is nothing like any injunction against any of them. You understand? There is nothing like any injunction whatsoever.
Emmanuel Amwa is the lawyer for the 11 NDC branch executives within the Asawase constituency who have been sued by their MP, Muntaka Mubarak.
You're still listening to the Citi Prime News live from our studios at Adabraka in Accra. Still ahead in the bulletin, new KJTM market reopens to business with traders calling for the dismissal of the managing director and board chair of the facility over the recent fire incidents. Do stay with us. We have more on this and others shortly.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Keys. What could be simpler than a key? Who doesn't have a key? A car key, an office key, a drawer key. But there's one key that rules them all. The house key. The key to a place we call home. The key to the home where everything comes together. The key to a home that is our own. A home where we make life happen with our families and loved ones. Adoha has been working hard for over 30 years to make home ownership within reach for many. Say yes to property with Adoha. Your dream home is one call away. Your dream home is a few clicks away. Visit our Accra project, The Place, by calling 030-2789-757.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. We'll go to the Ashanti region where traders at the new KJTM market are calling for the dismissal of the managing director of the facility and the board chair following the recent fire incident. The part of the market that was not affected by the fire outbreak has now been reopened for business following the announcement by the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Now, the Vice President visited the market on Monday to inspect the severity of last Wednesday's fire that destroyed dozens of shops. Although the decision to reopen the market brought joy to the traders, the leadership of the Combined Traders Association are calling for the dismissal of the managing director of the new KJTM market and the board chairman of the facility, who doubles as the Kumasi mayor, Samuel Pine. The traders are blaming them for not addressing some structural integrity issues they had raised over the years. Reuben Ame is the general secretary of the Combined Traders Association.
Some of the demands are that we say we will still stand by that the managing director and the board chairman should go because they supervise this mess. Suffice to say that, okay, the fire was caused by a trader. Accepted. Fine, let's talk about that if that was caused. Before the trader caused that fire, the management knew about it. They should have known about it. They have CCTV cameras around, they have security personnel around, they have a safety team around who should be going around every day to inspect. Really, to be frank, when we were giving the shop, we were giving a letting out policy. Management has a right to walk to my shop this morning, tell me they want to do an inspection. They have that right. And we signed to that letting out policy. They have to walk into my shop, do whatever inspection they need to inspect. Whatever thing I'm not supposed to have in my shop, they take it out. They have that right. Have they ever done that? It's a no. Now that they've not done that, the fire came. The fire, I made the fire. It was in only one shop. If you had responded to the fire as early as possible, in that effective manner that you are supposed to respond to the fire, you wouldn't have gotten over 54 shops burnt. After all, we've had fire in this market where it was only one shop. The response at that time was so quick that it only remained in that particular shop. It didn't spread to other places. But for now, for this one, it is management sat down, they didn't care about anything, and then here we are. So the managing director and the board chairman should go. They were elected long ago. Number two, for compensation for our affected traders, we will demand for that. If they don't give it to us, they should prepare for a class action. We will go the full haul with that. Number three, every rules and regulations that we are supposed to implement in KJT here, once we've all discussed and accepted it, should be implemented to the latter. No discrimination. No, this person is my friend, this person is my sister, this person is my uncle, this person is this. No, let's implement it. If I'm not supposed to use candle in my shop, it shouldn't be because I am the general secretary, I have to use it. No, if you go to my shop now, I will not use what I'm not supposed to use. The fact that I'm the general secretary, yes, I have a leeway to do what I want to do.
Reuben Ame is the General Secretary of the Combined Traders Association. I'll go over the phone lines to speak to our Ashanti Regional Correspondent, Fatih Aminu Ibrahim, to tell us more. Good afternoon, Fatih. Grateful you could join us this afternoon. Now, what's the current state of the market as we speak?
Okay. Hello, Wilma. So far, yes, the market has been open for trading activities to go on. And when this morning, when we got there, they had opened the market, unlike 2 days back when they had to close it following the fire incident. And then the management actually mentioned structural integrity. They had to do a few investigations before coming to the conclusion as to whether or not they had to open the shop for the traders or not. Unfortunately for the traders, earlier on Sunday, there was a communique from the management of the facility, the board of the facility, indicating that despite the fact that they had to close the shop for days, they had to actually extend the closure by another 1 week to assess the market. But fortunately for them, based on the interaction of the vice president with the regional fire commander, he mentioned that the regional fire commander explained to him that yes, it wasn't actually an electoral problem that caused the fire, but actually someone was cooking there, and so there was no need to continue to close the shop from business. They had to open it. So announcing that yes, the market had to be open for business today, and indeed, when we got there this morning, we had opened the market and trading activities were going on smoothly. And the traders who were not affected by the fire were actually excited about the fact that the market has been open for business. Even though, yes, there's that excitement because the market has been open, the leadership of the traders are not really, yes, they are excited, but they feel that, look, what happened that have been avoided. Yes, the fire that started, they couldn't really, but what happened, the fact that it escalated could have been avoided, but for the negligence of the management of the facility and the board. They mentioned that there were some fire safety measures that the management has to put in place, but they did not do that, and so they believe that it was that led to the escalation of the fire. So they think that, look, the management of the facility must be sacked, and then the board of the facility must also be sacked. So yes, if you get to the Kidetia New Market, realize that trading activities are ongoing, but the leadership of the traders, however, believe that more should be done. It shouldn't just be about business as usual. A lot of measures must be put in place to ensure that what happened last Wednesday does not reoccur.
Thank you so much for that update. That was Ashanti Regional Correspondent Fatih Aminu Ibrahim.
The Ministry of Education is directing all parents who have not sent their awards to their various senior high schools because they do not have the full complement of their required prospectus to do so immediately. The ministry explains that not being able to provide all items on their prospectus should not be a hindrance to being admitted to any school. Speaking during an engagement with some school placement call center personnel, the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, says parents should take advantage of the free SHS policy for the awards to access quality education.
Because you are waiting to get all the prospectus items, I want you to know that my headmasters want to see you at school immediately. So even if you don't have all the items, go to school. Headmasters can't wait to see you and welcome you to their schools. They don't want you to stay at home. Go to school with the little that you have. And if you are determined, one day you'll tell your story of how you went to Odogon with your one shirt, one short, and the government gave you your uniforms, and then you say the rest is history. You tell the world that you didn't wait, so you got all your items, and yet you went. So parents, send your children to school. Let's take advantage of the opportunity presented to us by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's government. And let us all embrace the free senior high school free TVET so you can change the future of your children, change the future of your family, and change the future of this great nation called Ghana.
Dr. Yao Osei Educhum is the Minister of Education.
Now, away from that, the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Alban Bagbin, has assured the family of the late former Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Dr. Anthony Akutu Osei, of the House's support in this time of grief. The lawmaker died on Monday, March 20, 2023. He was the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo constituency for 16 years and the Minister of Monitoring and Evaluation during President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's first term from 2017 to 2021. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, paid a tribute to the late MP before the commencement of proceedings today.
We take note and do the customary thing. One of our former members of Parliament, he was a very illustrious member, very effective, very well respected, a very true gentleman. He told the former member of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Osei Akutu, who was not just a member of Parliament, but was also appointed a Deputy Minister for Finance and Economy, and later he became the Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance and Economy, and he really distinguished himself both the ministry and the Parliament of Ghana. Before even joining politics, he was a known face, very active civil society leader who worked in the then very vibrant economic NGO. They did a lot of work, finance and planning for this country. I really am sad when I heard that Honorable Dr. Anthony Akutu Osei, a former member of Parliament for Old Tafo, passed away. And we'll play our role and do all we can to assuage the pain of such a shock, not only to them, but to the whole nation.
You heard the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin.
Still on the passing of Dr. Akutu Osei, the New Patriotic Party has directed that all party flags should fly at half-mast at all regional and constituency party offices in the country in honor of the memory of the late Dr. Anthony Akutu Osei. In a statement, the NPP described the renowned statesman as having served in all his roles with distinction and selflessness to the party and the country. The NPP says it extends its heartfelt condolences to his immediate family and also commiserates with the nation on the loss of an illustrious citizen.
You're still listening to the Citi Prime News live from our studios at Adabraka, Accra, with me, Wilma, Obuobisa, Coleman, and Charles Owusu Kumi. Still ahead in the bulletin, residents of Sherigu Kumbilingu in the Upper East region threatened to boycott the 2024 general elections if the communities are not connected to the national grid. We'll have details of this and others shortly. Do stay with us.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Imagine you have the power to impact the world around you. At the British Council, we see students from all over the globe coming together for equality of education that achieves goals. An IELTS test from the British Council can help you own your future. For a limited time only, when you book IELTS with British Council, you will get our most popular preparation course, Road to IELTS Premium, for free. Valued at $80. Road to IELTS Premium gives you all the material you need to get a great IELTS score. Visit the British Council website today.
Come on, everybody, let's fight Corona.
Hello, good people of Ghana. Have you been vaccinated against COVID-19 yet? If not, then hurry and go for any of these vaccines. Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson, given to 18-year-olds and above, while Pfizer is given to 15-year-olds and above. If you're pregnant, go for Moderna or Pfizer vaccines. Vaccination is taking place in health centers, schools, markets, churches, bus stations, and your neighborhood. The vaccines are safe, effective, and free. They reduce COVID-19 disease, its severity, and prevent hospitalization and death. Take along any ID card and your COVID-19 vaccination card. Wait patiently for 10 to 15 minutes after vaccination before leaving the site. If you feel anything unusual after the vaccination, report to the nearest health facility. Continue to wear your face mask. Frequently wash your hands with soap and running water. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizer and keep physical distancing. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Get vaccinated against COVID-19 now. This message is from Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and partners.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back. Now, residents of Sherigu Kumbilingo in the Bolgatanga municipality in the Upper East region say they will boycott the upcoming assembly elections and the general elections in 2024 if their communities are not connected to the national grid. According to the residents, the absence of electricity in the communities is negatively affecting their livelihood, and several attempts to get authorities to deal with their plight have proven futile, hence their decision. Citi News' Upper East regional correspondent Frederick Awuni has more in this report.
The Shirigu Kumbelungu area has 10 communities, and most residents here are farmers and petty traders. However, the absence of electricity in the area is thwarting the development of the area. In 2012, government awarded a contract in a bid to connect the area to the national grid under the Rural Electrification Project. But unfortunately, 2 out of the 10 communities have access to electricity, while the remaining 8 communities live in darkness. The planted electric poles dotted all over the communities are yet to be wired, and residents are uncertain when they will be connected to the national grid. Some residents tell Citi News how the absence of electricity is negatively affecting livelihoods in the area.
You don't have light. When you charge it in town and you are coming back, maybe the next day it's off. Someone who wants to buy something and then sees it on your status and wants to call you, the person will not get you because your phone is off, just because there's absence of electricity. So we're pleading on the government to come to our aid, to actually help us, because we are lacking behind.
The most important of what we are suffering for light, first thing, our children for learning is hard for them. We cannot get Latin or torch light for them to be using. And that one is very important for us to look for the light. The light, for the light there, is affecting us too much concerning our children. They want to learn, they won't get lights to learn.
When you go to any village at all, everybody wants to use phone. That's number one. And phone can be used for learning. It can be used for other things. And then this is a farming community as well. We use a mechanized borehole for another farming. So when you mechanize the borehole, when you drill the borehole without light, we can't mechanize it. And it is something that is more important for farming. Another thing is the students or our children, they have no light to be learning in the night. So many things that we think the light can help us. And our women too as well, they need light to do any other things.
Addressing a press conference at Kumbelungu, Secretary of Kumbelungu Youth, Peter Akolbila, said the affected communities will boycott both the upcoming assembly and the general elections if the government does not urgently connect the communities to the national grid.
Have we not been voting since 1992? What crime have we committed? Just as the politicians love and cherish power and will do anything to get it, So do we cherish light, a dam, and a construction of bridges, and will do anything to get them? We will not even talk of the other smaller political parties, but on the two major political parties, NPP and NDC, that they have failed us. They have not been faithful enough. However, it is not too late for them to redeem their images. It is important to note that we haven't sung any praise to any smaller political parties since they have not yet smelled power. We are therefore, by this press statement, declaring that if nothing is done about the issues raised above, we will not, and I repeat, we will not take part in the upcoming assembly elections as well as the 2024 general elections.
But Bolgatanga Municipal Chief Executive Rex Asanga assured that the affected communities will be connected soon as efforts are far advanced to get the contractor back to site.
The government of the NPP in 2016 had decided that every community, within the Upper East region, especially within our municipality, should be connected to a national grid. So a lot of effort has been put in, and to get a lot of the communities connected. Unfortunately, in their case, the entire Surugu, Kumi is just a small part of Surugu. Much of the communities in Surugu have all been connected. What has happened is that the contractor ran short of material, and it has taken a long time for him to be able to get this material. And I've been informed by the consultant who is supervising the project that now there is material and at the Ministry of Energy, and the contractors are there trying to get their share, and that as soon as he takes delivery of these materials, he's going to come back on site.
Unlike other communities within the Boga municipality that are connected to the national grid, residents of Kumbilingu say the absence of electricity in this community is negatively affecting livelihoods. They have, however, resolved not to participate in the upcoming assembly elections and the 2024 general elections should government not immediately connect them to the national grid. For Citi News, I'm Frederick Awuni, Kumbilingu, Bogatanga.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okuboy, is optimistic that his outfit will deliver better health care to all Ghanaians. His comments follow the signing of a $5 million funding agreement to, among other things, enhance the performance of the insurance scheme by improving its capacity to digitalize health service delivery in the country.
The National Health Insurance Authority pays an average of 130 million Ghana cedis every month to hospitals across Ghana. That comes to about 1.45 billion annually injected in the healthcare sector. Yet sometimes the impression that goes out there is that for months hospitals don't even get a dime. So what we would be doing very soon, and I'm happy that the board has approved this policy, we are about to launch a sunshine policy which aims or has the objective of throwing light on what we pay to facilities. When you click, you have access to a file, and you know that Rich Hospital in the month of March was paid, let's say, 100 million Ghana cedis by the National Health Insurance. Even if that is for care they provided last year in November, at least you know that this month they got that amount of money. And we intend to upload all the files last year from January 2022 to the payments that we will make this month, so that there will be transparency. This way, we will not have a situation where a supplier gives medicines to, let's say, Kolebu, goes to Kolebu, and I'm not saying that's what it's about, just to give an example. And then Kolebu go like, oh, for 1 year, I've not had anything for health insurance. Until this policy is launched, there is no way to know how much they've had and when they had it.
That was the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okuboy. Now, the United States Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, underscored the importance of safe and effective healthcare delivery and said that the United States government was committed to the cause.
We're signing a partnership agreement, which, as you mentioned, Chief Executive, is not the first one, but the second one. And as you also mentioned, it's been a long time coming because we've had to work through the COVID pandemic. But I think it's given us an opportunity to respond in that partnership agreement to some of the sort of new realities on the ground. And we had a meeting before we came to the boardroom and talked about how truly impressive it is that Ghana has the coverage with the National Insurance Scheme. And we talked in the meeting before about the importance of ensuring the sustainability of that program and its expansion. And critical to that is a sort of steady inflow of funding. The partnership will help the NHIA be more efficient and accountable to the Ghanaian public and to Parliament, and to improve the quality and transparency of health service delivery. And through our work together, we hope that the NHIA will be able to digitally collect, analyze, and release data and information across its operations to be efficient and accountable to all stakeholders.
You heard the United States Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer.
Now, the Ghana chapter of the Korea Foundation for International Healthcare Global Alumni with the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service are embarking on a clubfoot sensitization program to create awareness on clubfoot correction to parents and the general public. Speaking to Citi News, a senior specialist in trauma and an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Ruben Seji Ingeza, explained that clubfoot was treatable in its early stages. He encouraged all parents to be very interested in finding treatment.
So, as we are saying, the desired or the preferred time is to get them when they are babies. See, at that time, the tissues are very soft, so it's very easy to handle. When you wait for the child to grow, it becomes more difficult, which means that you would have to also consider other forms of treatment. At that time, the casting does not work, so mainly you have to fall on surgical intervention, which is quite expensive and also comes with its own complication. So the whole idea is to focus on early treatment, which gives a very high success rate, and we are looking at about 95% success rate for early treatment. Immediately the baby is born, so immediately you detect the condition, you commence treatment. So it's better to commence it within the first few weeks up until like the age of 2 years. Beyond 2 years, then now we see that it's a neglected clubfoot. At that time, the child has started walking and it becomes more difficult in treating.
There was a senior specialist in trauma and an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Ruben Sechi Ingeza. According to Dr. Ralph Ama, the president of the Ghana chapter of the Korea Foundation International Healthcare Global Alumni, clubfoot is treatable and inexpensive, but it has a lot of myths and stigma surrounding it, and so it is crucial to enlighten the general public.
When we say somebody has a clubfoot, it's a birth defect in which you see that the child's foot, instead of sitting, is turned inwards. So like we say in our normal parlance, it's curved in. So what then happens is that the child is not able to stand. I mean, if a child is not able to stand, you obviously expect some delay in the developmental milestones. Because it's inexpensive and treatable, and it's caused a lot of trouble within society because there are myths and there are all sorts of ideas surrounding it. We wanted to bring it to the fore and make the public know that it's not a curse, it is not a debilitating condition, and that is a condition that can be treated so that the burden both on the family, the society, and even the hospital and the individual is taken care of in the treatment.
Dr. Ralph Ama is president of the Korea Foundation International Healthcare Global Alumni, Ghana chapter. And that's all time would allow us for on today's edition of the Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studios at Adabaka in Accra. For more news, you can log on to our website, citinewsroom.com. I am Wilma Obuobisa Coleman, and this afternoon I was here with
Charles Owusu Kumi.
Up next is the afternoon's edition of the Citi Business News with Michael Ogbudu. Do have a good day.
Citi 97.3.